while she was at the ATM. And Mr. Talley was just trying to be a good Samaritan and try to get in between Mr. Spencer and Miss Tony.
So Mr. Talley was trying to de-escalate the situation?
Yes.
And so, but Mr. Spencer escalated by doing this, by taking off Mr. Talley's ear?
Yes. So from what Mr. Talley said, it started off with verbals just for him to, Mr. Talley telling Mr. Spencer to leave Miss Tony alone. And then it escalated to physical when Mr. Talley said that Mr. Spencer punched him at least once in the face, which caused bruising and swelling to his left eye. And then as Mr. Talley defended himself, he didn't realize at first that Mr. Spencer bit his ear off until he separated from Mr. Spencer.
The content presented in this video is intended for commentary, analysis, and educational purposes, and is protected under the principles of fair use as defined by U.S. copyright law. Ladies and gentlemen, legal enthusiasts, and seekers of courtroom drama, prepare yourselves for another jaw-dropping episode as we enter the chambers of Judge Alex Manning. Today, we bear witness to a case that's nothing short of shocking, a tale of egregious charges that have left the courtroom stunned in disbelief. Today, the spotlight falls on a defendant accused of a series of appalling acts. It all began with an attempted robbery, but the situation quickly escalated into a wild confrontation with several innocent citizens. The arresting officer takes the stand today as a witness, ready to unveil the harrowing events of that fateful day. The defendant is accused of biting off a man's ear during the altercation. Join us as we navigate this courtroom drama that leaves us with a plethora of questions. What drove the defendant to commit such a heinous act? What will Judge Manning's verdict be in the face of these appalling charges? Stay tuned and let's find out.
And one charge of aggravated battery in the count of aggravated assault. State and spell your name, officer, for the court reporter, please, ma'am.
Yes, it's Shakira, Sharkira, McCullough, McCullough.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Fields.
Judge, I just wanted you said that it was an aggravated assault. It is an aggravated battery, but
Aggravated battery and simple assault.
yes, thank you. And that's what you charged this defendant with, Officer McCullough?
Yes.
Okay. And did you take out these warrants?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna ask you some introductory questions before we get into the details. Okay. Where do you work?
Atlanta Police Department.
And what do you do there?
I'm a patrol officer.
And how long have you been working with, or law enforcement at all? How long have you been?
3 years.
And have you been with APD this entire time?
Yes.
Okay. Are you post-certified?
Yes.
And were you post-certified on the date in question of these warrants?
Yes.
And what was the date that you took out these warrants in the incident?
May 15th, 2023.
Okay. And is that the date you saw the defendant, Mr. Aaron Spencer?
I'm sorry, can you
Is that excuse me, that the day you saw the defendant, Mr. Aaron Spencer?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're familiar with him through your investigation of him?
Yes.
And can you identify him in court today?
Yes.
You can stand up if you need to.
It is a white male wearing a dark colored shirt and a cream colored undershort.
And
shirt.
where is he in relation to you?
To my far left, sitting next to a white male wearing a gray suit.
Okay. Your Honor, let the record reflect that the Officer McCullough, has correctly identified the defendant in this case, Mr. Aaron Spencer.
All right, it's noted.
Okay. Officer McCullough, can you tell us what took place on, you said May 15th, what took place on that day?
Yes, the call originally came in as a male harassing people that were passing by 10th and Piedmont. And then it escalated by the time I got there to a white male that physically assaulted another male in the middle of the streets and that he bit the male's ear off.
And was the male, the white male that bit the individual's ear off, is that Mr. Spencer?
Yes, Mr. Spencer.
And who was, you said somebody was, their ear was bitten off, is that correct?
Yes, it was a Mr.
Just refresh your memory, don't read from it.
I just wanted to make sure that I could see his first and last name before I spoke on it. Mr. Alumis, that's going to be ELMUS Talley, TALLEY.
Okay, Mr. Talley. Okay, so that's a man?
Yes,
Okay. And Mr. Talley, Alumis, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Mr. Alumis was assaulted by Mr. Spencer.
yes.
And what led up to this assault?
Mr. Talley told me that he saw Mr. Spencer harassing a Miss Lakeitha, LAKEITHA, Tony, TONEY, when she was at the ATM.
What was Mr. Spencer doing?
Mr. Spencer was just coming up to her, what does it say? That he was repeatedly asking her to give him some money, trying to grab on her while she was at the ATM. And Mr. Talley was just trying to be a good Samaritan and try to get in between Mr. Spencer and Miss Tony.
So Mr. Talley was trying to de-escalate the situation?
Yes.
And so, but Mr. Spencer escalated by doing this, by taking off Mr. Talley's ear?
Yes. So from what Mr. Talley said, it started off with verbals just for him to, Mr. Talley telling Mr. Spencer to leave Miss Tony alone. And then it escalated to physical when Mr. Talley said that Mr. Spencer punched him at least once in the face, which caused bruising and swelling to his left eye. And then as Mr. Talley defended himself, he didn't realize at first that Mr. Spencer bit his ear off until he separated from Mr. Spencer, until people ran in and started to separate the two parties.
Was there EMS that was called?
Yes, Grady was on scene. Mr. Talley was already in the back of Grady. I didn't physically see his ear. I think it was his right ear, because they already had it wrapped up, but they did inform me that they had it wrapped up because it was pieces missing of his ear.
Were they able to put the ear back together or something like that? Were you told about that?
I no, they weren't. They didn't inform me as to whether they were able to put it back together.
Okay. But you also charged Mr. Spencer with simple assault. Can you tell us what that's about?
Yes. So by the time I got to 10th and Piedmont, where the initial interaction occurred, Mr. Spencer was already left the location, and I was told that he was heading somewhere near either Piedmont or Peachtree Street, heading towards 5th Street. I gave a be on the lookout to the other officers in the area in case they were able to identify him or locate Mr. Spencer. And a couple officers actually did locate him near Peachtree Street and 7th Street.
And so what happened?
I was advised that there was a gentleman by the name of Keontae Wallace, that is KEYONTAE, Wallace, WALLACE, who was pushed by Mr. Spencer as he was trying to get into Dollar General. Mr. Wallace said that he made multiple threats to beat him up and kept pushing him every time he tried to get into Dollar General.
So he threatened, Mr. Spencer threatened, what was the victim's name? The simple assault?
Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Wallace, he threatened Mr. Wallace that he was gonna beat him up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the aggravated battery was due to the ear being, the Mr. Spencer taking the ear off of Mr. Talley.
Yes.
And then a simple assault was due to the fact that Mr. Spencer was alleged to have pushed Mr. Wallace. Is that what that's for? And made threats?
Yes.
So, okay. Is there anything else that, well, let me ask you this question. Did you speak to Mr. Spencer at all?
No, Mr. Spencer was very irate. We don't know, well, I don't know if he was under the influence of a controlled substance. It appeared that he was, or he was just having a mental breakdown, but he was completely unresponsive to anything that me, as well as the other officers on scene, was trying to speak to him. It took about 3 officers just to hold him in place on the ground, just for Grady to get there to assess him. But even Grady didn't feel comfortable transporting him. And so I had to transport him to Grady myself.
Okay, who was that? Who was that uncontrollable?
Yes.
Would you speak to any other witnesses who, besides the victims, who saw this incident take place with Mr. Wallace and Mr. Talley?
Yes, so I spoke to a Mr. Granville Douglas, that's excuse me, Ville, Douglas Douglas. I actually might have the first name, last name mixed, so it might be Douglas Granville. And Miss Lakeitha Tony, about both situations. So Mr. Douglas was the witness to the simple assault, and Miss Tony was the witness to the aggravated battery.
Okay, so they both confirmed that a simple assault took place when aggravated battery took place based upon what they witnessed.
Yes.
Okay, did anybody else confirm this assault and this battery?
There were multiple other witnesses, but they didn't give me their information.
Okay, but you talked to them and they confirmed this took place?
Yes.
So that's at least 2 other people?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with the court that would enlighten her to know what else took place regarding Mr. Spencer?
No, not at this time.
All right.
Okay.
Cross.
Hello, officer.
Hello.
Regarding the incident, that's being, well, let me go with the guy's name here. Ms. Tony and Mr. Talley. Do you recall anything about a trash can being involved in that incident?
Yes, so Mr. Talley said that once Mr. Spencer punched him in the face, he tried to throw him into the trash can. And during that encounter is when his ear was bit by Mr. Spencer. Mr. Talley's ear was bit by Mr. Spencer.
All right. And do you know, is there any witness or testimony other than Mr. Talley regarding who threw the first punch?
There was another homeless individual that was there that also stated that Mr. Spencer threw the first punch. However, he was not willing to give me his information and his name to add to the report.
Okay, and I want to go to the incident regarding Mr. Wallace. You said that there was another witness named Douglas Greenville. Did Greenville testify to Spencer pushing Wallace?
Yes, he came up to me and stated that the male that the officers were holding down, he saw him repeatedly pushing on Mr. Wallace as he was trying to enter into Dollar General.
Did Wallace suffer any injuries?
No, no visible injuries
Is there footage of that incident?
of him getting pushed, not that I'm aware of.
And regarding the Talley incident, is there footage of that?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Did you have your body cam on at the time?
Yes,
Is that available?
yes.
No further questions.
All right. Anything else from the state?
Yes, briefly, Judge. I'm gonna make sure I ask the question. I believe I did, but just in case I didn't. Did you say the address of this incident?
The first encounter was 10th and Piedmont, 10th Street and Piedmont Ave. And the second encounter was Peachtree Street and 7th Street.
And the first encounter was where Mr. Talley was involved. The second encounter was with Mr. Wallace.
Avon.
Okay, and so was both of those incidents in Fulton County?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Showalter, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, officer. You can be excused. Stay safe out there.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead with argument.
Your Honor, I submit on the testimony and the evidence from the testimony and ask the court to find no probable cause on the charges.
What says the state?
I'm kind of confused as to what Mr. Showalter, so you're saying you submit, but yet you don't want them to judge to find probable cause?
Perhaps I misspoke. I'm
Oh.
asking the court not to find probable cause.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, Judge, we are asking, state is asking you to find probable cause on both of these charges. You heard evidence from Officer McCullough stating that regarding the first charge, aggravated battery, that Mr. Spencer had attacked Mr. Talley, and he had so attacked him so much or so aggressively that he took off his ear. So it was so bad they had to wrap it up and things like that. And there was pieces missing of Mr. Talley's ear based upon what Mr. Spencer had did. So we believe that the evidence is clear on that because, you know, his member was taken, you know, the statute requires the member be, you know, dislocated or things like that, or it's rendered useless. And we suggest that that's very obvious that the statute is met based upon the fact that a member of his ear was no longer, you know, in use because it was off his head, Judge. So we indicate that that's solidified. And then also, and there was multiple witnesses who saw this attack. Officer McCullough said that Miss Tony, she probably could have been another victim in this case for harassment by Mr. Spencer, witnessed this incident take place with the aggravated battery. And she indicated there was two other witnesses at least who saw that as well. So we suggest that there's multiple eyewitnesses and to substantiate this charge for aggravated battery, the same for the simple assault. You heard from Officer McCullough that there were other witnesses besides the victim, Mr. Wallace, who saw him being pushed and being threatened. And so we also believe that because of the threats that took place, you could also find probable cause for terroristic threats misdemeanor for that, and also that going back to aggravated battery, there was also a punch being thrown by Mr. Spencer, and it was a witness who said that Mr. Spencer threw the first punch. But we also argue that there could be a simple battery at least on that as well. So there are multiple charges that were listed, two on the actual warrant, and others that could have been brought up by yourself as far as what we're articulating today that could be brought up after this preliminary hearing is over, that could be added to this particular case. So based on that, we believe that you should find probable cause.
So are you asking to add charges or no?
I am asking to add charges, Judge, if you so agree to that.
What charges are you asking? And Mr. Showalter, I'll let you respond to her. Go
The
ahead.
simple battery for the punch that took place, because there was evidence to show that Mr. Talley was trying to, the first victim in the aggravated battery, he was punched by Mr. Spencer. I'm sorry.
And what else?
And so the terroristic threats for the other victim, Mr. Wallace, is misdemeanor because you heard from Officer McCullough that there was threats based on Mr. Spencer saying he was going to beat up Mr. Wallace.
Okay. Mr. Showalter, do you want to respond to those two additional charges she's asking for?
The testimony did not state about injuries regarding this punch specifically. There was clearly a tussle that was going on at the time, and with a lot of fights, it's a lot of back and forth. And so there's always what's defensive and what's offensive. And there's no specific testimony regarding how that went down, nor evidence. And regarding the terroristic threats, we don't have the witnesses here to testify as to what was being said. And so I'm asking the court not to add these new charges.
Well, am I able to respond to that, Judge, or?
Sure, go ahead.
So with a simple battering, there doesn't have to be injuries. That's why I asked for a simple battery, not a battery. There was evidence to show that this particular defendant did punch first. There was no kind of assault or battery taking place or any type of affray taking place before Mr. Spencer punched this defendant, according to the evidence we heard today. As far as terroristic threats, yes, the witnesses are not here to testify, but we can have hearsay. That's what the probable cause hearing is for, to allow hearsay to get into evidence. So at this point, we heard from Officer McCullough that there were threats, and I asked her I think a second time to clarify whether or not there was threats from Mr. Spencer. She indicated that Mr. Spencer did threaten to beat up Mr. Wallace, and there was other witnesses who saw and heard these threats. So we indicate that you should find probable cause on that as well.
All right, so I'll find probable cause on aggravated battery, simple assault, simple battery, and then a terroristic threats. Mr. Showalter, right now there's a $23,000 good bond, and I'll hear bond again. That was of 8/17. Do you know where he's going to live before I hear from pretrial? Because here it says urban camper.
My client, he does not have an address. He's a homeless client.
Okay, all right. Pretrial.
This defendant has 18 arrest cycles in Georgia, felony convictions in 2017 and 2018 for obstruction of law enforcement, 4 probation violations and 2 FTAs. Nothing further to report.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Would it be a problem if pretrial could read that over again? I was speaking with my client and it just all went
Okay,
over.
all right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
No problem. It's 18 arrest cycles in Georgia, felony convictions in 2017 and 2018 for obstruction of law enforcement officer, 4 probation violations and 2 FTAs. Nothing further to report.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Okay, my client is a homeless client. He is residentially challenged. He informs me at the table that he might have a place at Atlanta Rescue Mission, but unfortunately I don't have an acceptance letter or that, but I did get my social worker in touch with him. So maybe something happened there that I wasn't informed of. And I also want to highlight that his felony convictions were 10 years ago and that he has 10 cycles. Some might read that as a lot, some might be few, but I think that at least puts it that he's not a habitual violent offender or something like that. To those, and I'm asking the court to, especially with these new charges, to try and get the bond down to less than $10,000, Your Honor.
All right, what says the state?
The state would argue that I believe that pretrial said that he was arrested or convicted of felony obstruction in 2017 and 2018. So that is that correct? Is it 2017, 2018?
Yes.
So it hasn't been 10 years. It's been just a few years ago that these felonies took place. So these are recent violent felonies, and felony obstruction. That could have been any type of assault with the officer and things like that. And so we have reason to believe that he's a further risk to reoffend with his other aggravated battery charge that he's been assigned on that you found probable cause for. And not only that, we are aware that he's a flight risk because he has 2 failure to appear. So at this time, we argue the state that this defendant has a propensity of flouting jurisdictions by not appearing in court. And also these felonies are an issue that he had in 2017 and 2018. And not only that, he had 4 probation violations. So we can't even trust this defendant to abide by whatever the court guidelines may be. So we argue that if the court wants to reduce the bond, we say that it shouldn't go lower than $20,000, Judge.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Elmus, ELMUS, last name Talley, TALLEY, or Keontae, KEYONTAE, last name Wallace, or Lakeithia Tony, Lakeitha, last name Tony, Toney. He must supply an address where he's going to be living upon release. So you got to give him an address when you leave, sir, on where you're going to be. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Also, that'll also include any MH or addiction treatment. If I'm not saying that he needs it, Mr. Showalter, but if for some reason your client needs that, then he can do that. Also, stay out of the Midtown area. Stay away from 1001 Piedmont Avenue. Stay away from 10th and Piedmont, and stay away from 7th and Peachtree, and all Dollar General, all Dollar General stores. Not around any more Dollar General stores. So I'll give you 15,000, 1,000 on the simple assault, 2,000 simple battery, and 2,000 terroristic threats. 15,000, 1,000, 2,000, and 2,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
All comments, viewpoints, interpretations, and insights expressed in this video are for education and entertainment purposes. All individuals featured in the video are to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Please do not attempt to contact, locate, or engage with any individuals featured in the video.